My name is Matei Twin. I work for the Ho-Chunk Nation. I'm an Indigenous Arts and Sciences grant manager in the education department. I learned how to make moccasins a few years back. I was learning how to tan hides. I think it was probably after I had finished my first hide that my teachers taught me how to make moccasins.
You know, my girls were very little and they danced since they were tiny tots, since they could get up. I asked Rebecca Greendeer Winaheda if she would show me how, because she had all these patterns, and so she gave me a pattern.
I had a lot of teachers, I guess. First it was Lila Blackdeer Winifreda. When we were younger, we used to go visit. As I got older, I had another Gaga on my mom's side, and she taught me how to make her moccasins one time when we were at Winnebago Powwow.
My experience in moccasin making, I would say, has to go back to the late 80s. Really got into moccasin making when I started having children. So they taught me the flat stitch and then how to put it all together after doing the beadwork.
The very first pair of moccasins I ever tried to make, my mother was trying to show me how on the fly before the powwow one time.
There's no one single way to make a moccasin. Each pair carries the memory of the person who taught us, the feel of the materials in our hands, and the small decisions we make along the way. Our choices, how we shape, cut, and stitch, are all part of a much larger story. Participants begin by getting familiar with their own feet, measuring the length from heel to toe and the width around the arch. These measurements are then transferred onto a piece of paper or cereal box to create a custom pattern.
You have to have patience. I was in my 20s. I don't know if people are very patient in that time because there's so much other things going on, but I learned to sit down and be patient.
To keep things symmetrical, they fold the width in half and mark the center line. From there, they can start sketching the shape of the foot, rounded at the toes and tapering towards the heel. A small tail is added at the back, which will later help close up the moccasin. It's a simple but important step that sets the foundation for the rest of the project.
I always like to think about when we do these courses or, teachings, it's really important for us to sit down with them and make sure they understand the process so that they can take it out and do it themselves.
Next, participants draw out the full shape of their moccasin. It's a soft, rounded outline that curves from the toes down to the heel. At the back, they add a little tail. As mentioned before, this extra piece will help secure the moccasin when it's stitched together later on. Once the pattern is complete, they carefully cut it out. To make a pair, they simply flip the pattern over for the second foot, so each moccasin is a mirror image of the other.
We were actually getting ready to leave, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, I don't have any moccasins." And so she's like, "All right, well, go get that hide real fast." And she started measuring out my foot. She's just like, "This is how you do it. Watch, I'm gonna make these." And then we took off. And all in all, it took her about 2 hours to do both sides.
At the toe, participants add a thin strip called a welt. The welt hook makes the seam stronger and keeps the moccasin sturdy. Using a blanket stitch, they sew the toe closed. This step takes a little patience and care. Once the toe is stitched, they flip the moccasin right side out and trim any extra material, being careful not to cut the seam. Next, participants work on the heel. They flip just the heel area inside out, tuck the tail inside, and place another welt along the seam. They stitch it closed carefully, just like they did with the toe. Then they flip the moccasin right side out again, and the heel is strong and secure. we add ties cut from the hide. These ties can be stitched to the back or threaded through tiny slits around the sides. They hold everything in place.
I think the most challenging part was learning how to make the shoestrings, because I thought, oh, well, I'll just cut a shoestring straight across. No, that's wasting the hide. We use the edges or the little pieces, and so you trim around the edge, and then you have to use a scissor and make sure that it's straight. And so that's the most challenging part of it. And I show them how to do one, so I'm hoping that they did the second one okay.
And it's the same as the women's, but under here they used to poke holes. That leather strap that went around here, see how it wraps? The back is kind of, and then it would just wrap around and it forms a boot.
It's really not that hard, if you can find somebody, even if you don't know them too well, you can just say, hey, I'm really interested, maybe you can show me how to make a pattern. Or one thing you gotta understand in life is, it's always okay to ask. Always okay to ask.
These resources that we're creating today, and these resources that we've created with our Goja Hawaii program, the curriculum and stuff, these are all accessible outside of the tribe. So these are things that a teacher at any K through 12 or homeschool or whatever, they can go and have access to this to get culturally relevant educational materials, not to teach culture, but to teach more appropriately and more authentically about, our tribe as one of the tribes in Wisconsin here.